Uh, with increasing regularity, we are seeing the NHL and NHL players open up about mental health issues. And that's important. And it's important to talk about it. So, in The Athletic recently, there's an article on Jamie Baker. Jamie Baker, an analyst for the San Jose Sharks, a guy who played in the NHL. He didn't play a very long time in the NHL, but he played long enough to leave an impression with fans. um, and along the way, things happen. You get the odd concussion here and there, no big deal, right? He ends up retiring, and he's had a successful post hockey playing career as an analyst. And he seems like a really good guy who knows what he's talking about. And in the article, he talks about how he decided in between periods during a game he was going to end his life. And it details how he had basically decided, okay, now's the time. This is the moment. I'm going to do this, and he very nearly did. And he had it set up in a way that he definitely could have. He had the time, he had the opportunity, and he had a lot of people worried about him. But by the time they got worried, he was already gone. Um, and it shines a light on something that we've talked about a lot on this channel. We've talked about it with the ongoing conversations about Dan Carcillo and things in the game and things after the game and concussion issues. And in the Baker article, they talk about how Jamie was diagnosed with ADHD, so attention deficit hyperactive disorder, depression, and his therapist said that's a dangerous combination, and absolutely that would be a very dangerous combination. Now, at points in my life, I've struggled with depression. That's just how it is, and I still have my days. There are still days where that struggle is real, and it's not something you put in the rearview mirror. It's not like you make money and you go, okay, well, I've got some money in the bank, so now I'm not upset anymore. Nope. And it can be something. It can be nothing. Just you could see something on TV, you could hear a song, just something, and then that's it. Your whole day is done. And it could be something major too. And there are people I know who struggle with it, and I keep my ears open for anything from those people because I know there are always signs that people aren't necessarily in a good way. I get emails from people about this issue, and sometimes it takes a while for me to formulate a response that I think is worthy, because again, when somebody has that cry for help, it is a cry for help. In Jamie Baker's case, there wasn't one that last time. It was just, I'm doing this, and he made phone calls to people to just sever all ties. I'm done, and they knew these people got together. We've got to find Jamie. He's in bad shape. This is bad, and yeah, he ends up coming through this well, but not everybody does, and it's tricky because when somebody seems perfectly fine, they may not be. And there have been days where on this channel I'm smiling, I'm doing videos, everything's great, and as soon as the camera's off, that's not it at all. I'm nowhere near that level of happiness or satisfaction or anything. I might be having a really bad day, but as soon as I click this on, I'm like, all right, you're going to work. This is work time. You got to turn on that whole THD thing that you do. And so I do that, and there are definitely broadcasters that do it. There's hockey players that do it. They go out and they do their thing. And with hockey players now, you add on the trauma that you go through with concussions. In Jamie Baker's case, CT scans have shown that there are parts of his brain which are overstimulated and parts which are understimulated. And so he excels in certain parts and he struggles with others. And we're learning more and more about this now as the conversation changes. I think as a society we've come through this. I think part of what we need to understand sometimes with hockey is we watch the games on TV and we're like, man, that looks fun. I do that for free. But it's their work. That's their workplace. And that comes back to what I was talking about the other day with the trash talk thing. When people say, well, that's let the guys be guys. The problem is it's a workplace. So while yes, it's hockey and it's fun and we can all laugh and joke about it, there are rules in a workplace, and it's they have more. They definitely have more leverage than any of us would at any job we've had, because without hockey players, you don't have a game, you don't have a league. But definitely, since it is a workplace, you have to have certain rules. And I think all of this is tied together, because I've certainly seen people comment on players being depressed saying, oh, I wish I had millions of dollars. That'd be great. Then I wouldn't be depressed. The problem is you still would. There would still be things in your brain that you may not think would matter anymore when you're a millionaire that definitely would. Because as I've said in my own personal experience, I'm in a crappy apartment, depressed 4 years ago, and reading what Jamie Baker was doing here, I was very, very close to that at one point, which is why a friend of mine at one point actually called the police and said somebody needs to go and talk to him, because again, I went from being upset to just saying, yeah, no, I think yeah, this is a good time. And pointing out kind of a date, like I think on that date at that point, that would probably be, if I'm going to do this, I should do it then. And you know, it was as low as you get, and it wasn't me being hysterical and upset and frustrated. It was just sort of a, yep, all right, that's the right time. That's what you got to watch for. One can lead to the other, but you gotta watch for that. And I think when we talk about mental health, and then we include it with some of the taunts that go on the ice, some of the stuff that happens in game, and some of the other stuff that extends from that. So we can even get into some of the other hazing, the other parts of the game. I think there's a culture around the game which will cause players like a Jamie Baker, definitely in the case of a Dan Carcillo, to say, well, I have these things bothering me, but man, I can't admit that. It's a very macho, very manly environment, right? So you got to be all macho and manly. So, you got to chirp and take chirps, and no matter what kind of chirps they are, no matter how over the edge they are, it's all fine. It's all fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fair on the ice. I don't necessarily agree with that, but to me, it's all part of this changing mentality. And along with that is the long-term mental health of players. The fact that it's not acceptable that we marginalize players who admit they're not doing well mentally. I've said it before. I'll throw it in here. We make a big deal about, well, this guy, he can't walk right after hockey because he screwed up his knee. His knee's blown. Oh, he had to have hip replacement because of an injury he had playing the game of hockey. But if a guy comes out and says, man, I can't think straight because of a brain injury I had playing hockey, it's, well, I deal with it. It's really weird to me. It's really strange to me, and that seems to be the mentality of some. And it's all kind of connected to that macho thing. So I commend Jamie Baker for coming out and admitting his struggles with depression, and that you can't just go into a counselor and sit down for a couple hours on a couch and come out and go, I'm fixed. It's an ongoing thing. It never really changes. It never, you never completely leave that behind once that's a part of you, if it's that big a part of you, and especially when, in this case, there's actual physical reasons why he would suffer from that. So if you don't have a subscription to The Athletic, I can't talk you into it. There are certainly articles around online that talk about the Jamie Baker article. Again, for people who suffer through this, because we're men, we're not supposed to have emotions. There's some of that too. and Old Spice has made a fortune off the whole idea of kind of breaking down and rebuilding up what a real man is in their commercials, and I gotta say, it's pretty smart advertising. But because I wouldn't mind a shea butter body wash, anyways, and as I said, we're kind of in this new changing world, and so some of that macho-ness is probably gonna be further tested and pushed kind of off to the side, which is going to include you can't say whatever you want whenever you feel like it in a hockey game. And it's also going to include, hey, if after a game you're going out and you're drinking and you're using drugs and you're going through all this depressive stuff, you can come in and talk to the team and not get punished and not get suspended. I'll close on this. One of the biggest issues for me with the NHL has been that if you admit you have a problem, you can get suspended, and if you deny you have a problem, you often don't. And I think that's part of the conversation as well. And definitely, if you haven't listened to some of the talks from Jordan Tutu about emotional struggles he went through, which were connected to him drinking, that's all connected as well, and that's definitely part of the culture with hockey as well. Was, oh yeah, you know, all the drinking, and in the 80s there was all the drugs and the partying, and I know that still goes on now. So I think there's a lot more to this. I think we're going to hear other players come out and talk about their issues, and I know we're going to have people say, oh, big deal, I don't care, they get paid millions of dollars, cry me a river. But you know, I personally, I get it, and hopefully people who need help get that help when they need it. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always, and I'll talk to you again soon.